Hi guys, and welcome back to At Home with Elisa. I am just heading down to the garden. Today I'm going to one of my favourite nurseries, which is Wyee Nursery. It's a little bit of a drive from our house, but I'm heading off to Wyee Nursery to do a little bit of a shopping trip, which I'm really excited about. I tend to go to Wyee Nursery probably between 3 and 6 times a year. It's my favourite nursery we have here on the Central Coast of New South Wales, and I love to just go and see what they've got in stock. They have a huge range. It's one of the best nurseries that we've got around, so I'm really excited to go. Isn't it funny how I always tend to go to the nursery when my husband's not in town? It's just strange. It's just such a coincidence that it happens. You know, he goes out of town and I go to the nursery, so he knows that I do this, and it's only really a problem. He knows there's a problem if I actually send him a text message saying I really, really love you. That's when he knows it's going to be a really, really big bill. So let's have a look and see what it is that I'm looking to get today at the nursery. So this garden bed just here, I am actually hoping to see if I can find a plum tree. So I love plums. I think that they are stunning when they flower, and I love the fruit. And part of our property here is that we wanted to really incorporate more fruit trees into our garden. Now the garden will be extending a bit that way, and that will allow us to have more fruit trees, but we can't put them in ground, as this garden, if you've been following for a while, this garden does flood. So I'm looking to put them in above ground beds right in the center here. And can you just imagine in springtime all those beautiful pink flowers on a plum tree just here? So I'm looking for a plum tree today, and for this garden bed just here, which is just opposite one, I am looking for a nectarine tree. So plums are one of my favourite fruit, but my son loves nectarines. So we do have some dwarf peaches already. Both varieties that I'll be looking for today will be dwarf varieties. So a dwarf nectarine and a dwarf plum. And I also wanted to make sure that right now it's the time to start buying them because it's bare root season. So if I'm not too early, that's the only thing. So we're in autumn at the moment. Generally you can buy fruit trees bare root, same as like roses are bare root in the winter time. I'm not sure if I'm a little bit early, but I have the opportunity to go to the nursery, so I'm going to check them out while I'm there. And the other thing that I'm actually going to be looking for is some landscaping plants. We have a rather large, well, we have a big property, but next year we're actually, Choco line. Next year we're actually planning to do a large landscaping project outside of this little protected garden area that I have. So I'm looking for some Australian natives, specifically a shady lady waratah. The waratah is our state flower, and I'm looking for a white one, which is they're usually red in the bush, but I'm looking for a white one called Shady Lady. So I'll keep an eye out for that, and also some Banksias. And I also love proteas. So now's the time in winter where you can actually buy beautiful Australian natives, and I know that the nursery that we're going to actually stocks them, so they will also be something that I'll be looking for today. So this is my little stockpile of fruit trees that need to be planted in our garden extension, plants for projects. I've got some spring bulbs along the front, but I also have a lot of the landscaping plants that I was just mentioning. So I've been slowly accumulating those. We did lose a lot in flooding. However, I've been accumulating them so that then we can actually get that project started next year. And the project that I'm talking about is actually a pathway all the way from, you can see my mum's tiny home here. It'll come all the way, just follow my fingertip, all the way down, sort of swirl past towards the fire pit, and then it'll come like a nice curved gravel pathway. I'll see if I can find some inspo images so you can sort of see what I'm looking at. But we're doing a nice gravel pathway, wide enough to be able to drive my little buggy, just over here, wide enough to be able to drive my little buggy, and the house that we're looking at building will actually go from kind of where those rocks end all the way over up beside my mum's. So we're not going to go too far up in between where the houses will be, because we don't want to actually build a garden and then have it be in the way of when they do the house. So we'll probably start just at the edge of our catchment and do this big pathway along here leading to the garden. So we are really looking forward to doing that at some point next year. Obviously we have a long to-do list, and it will be there, and we can get started on it and plant all along here and all here, and just really start to make it look nice outside of the actual garden area itself. So this is another view. You can see we're going to start the pathway about here. Now eventually it will start right up at the parking lot where you can see the cars up further past it. It will start further back, but as I said, we're just going to start it just here and work our way down to the garden until the house is actually in place. And then once it is in place, we will be able to finish it off up the top. You can see we've been doing a little bit of garden work, and the garden extension will continue out past that tree that's there. So yes, today I am on the lookout for Australian natives for fruit trees, and you know, you never know what else might fall into my shopping cart. I do have a very cute little assistant with me today. She's at home. It's a school day, but she is at home with a head cold, so not allowed to go to school with any flu-like symptoms at the moment. So she is coming with me, and we're going to have a nice little lunch when we go out, and she's going to help me do with my shopping. So let's go. As I was saying before, this is one of my favourite nurseries. I just love the inspiration. So when you walk through the doors, the first thing that you see is obviously all this potted area here. They have seasonal decor, and you come through to like a covered area where you have the shadier plants. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of spots where we can put shady plants on our property, so I usually have to go straight through there and get to the outdoor plants that can handle full sun. But it's always nice to see the inspiration on offer. Now, my favourite way to shop when I'm at a nursery is first of all to go around and just look at absolutely everything. Like, I'm talking all the plants, check it all out, have a really good hard look, and sort of get like a little list in my head of what it is that I might be interested in purchasing. Then once I have my little list in my head, I sit down. This place has the most beautiful cafe. So I sit down and have some lunch and have a good think about what I really want to purchase. And then I'll go and get a shopping cart and actually do my shopping after that. Look at these water features here. I've had my eye on just the grey one in the back there for quite a while. They had lotus flowering in it the last time I was here, and water lilies, and it was stunning, and I know exactly where I'd love to put that sort of thing on our property. Hello.
I like to dance. I like to dance.
You like to dance? Oh wow, he's really getting into it, isn't he? You like to dance. You like to dance.
Sing to him. Sing to
You
him.
like to dance. You like to dance, do you? You see if he dances with you? Hi.
Do it. Look at do it. Yeah.
As you can see, Charlotte was absolutely loving this. She named quite a few of the birds, you know, just her own versions of the names, but she absolutely loved the fish and the birds. So I was looking around at plants, but just making sure I could keep an eye on her, but she absolutely loved them. And then I came across my natives section. So look at these Banksias. They were just what I was looking for. We have some Banksias already growing on our property, just coastal Banksias, which are native to our area, and they are just absolutely stunning. I never loved them as much as when we moved here and we saw them in the wild. They're just gorgeous, gorgeous trees. But I really enjoyed looking at all their native section. They had a huge range. I love these kangaroo paw just here. I just didn't love the colours. I'm not fussed on orange and red, which is a lot of natives are orange and red, unfortunately. But I do love kangaroo paw. I just want to keep an eye out for some ones that maybe you can get them in pinks and whites. So I'll keep an eye out for those. We're also looking at doing a large hedge out the front of our property, a viburnum hedge, and I came across just here one in flower. So it was kind of cool to see a mature viburnum in flower. We will obviously be getting just tiny plants because I think we need like 300 plants. So we were getting them a lot smaller. But look at this view. It was a really beautiful place to sit and eat lunch. Though I was a bit worried about those dark clouds just there. So we enjoyed a beautiful lunch, and then it was time for some actual shopping. So while I was at lunch, I sat there and I just sort of thought about what it is that I really wanted. I was trying to not get too carried away because it's so easy to be done in a nursery. This is like my favourite shopping ever. So I really wanted to just stop and think about exactly what sorts of plants that we wanted to get. Obviously I did get a few more than what I had expected to get, but it's always nice. I kind of knew that I was going there and I was going to do that anyway. This confetti bush is definitely my impulse buy of the day. I have seen them previously and I've always thought they were absolutely stunning. So I was reading the labels, trying to think of exactly where I could put that on our property, because I just think that it was really, really beautiful. Just a lovely feature tree. Okay, so we're back from the nursery now. Isn't it just the most beautiful nursery? You can tell the difference between when a nursery really cares about what they do, just the displays. They're not just there to sell plants, they're there to inspire, and I absolutely love that about Wyee Nursery. We did get quite a few plants. Let's have a look at them. So I did have a chat to the staff there, and evidently I'm about a month out with regards to my fruit trees that I was hoping to get. So they said about a month or so. So what I'll do is I'll actually try again in July and see if I can get that dwarf plum and the dwarf nectarine that I was after. She said they get a whole heap of fruit trees in early July. So my birthday's in July, so I think that warrants another trip to the nursery. But let's have a look at the plants that we did get today. They are mainly actually landscaping plants. So a lot of these plants are actually ones that I've had on a wish list for a couple of years. And I just have an ongoing list of things like plants and then the variety of the plant that I love. So I have had some of these on my wish list and I'll show you which ones. So these are mostly Australian natives, and they will mostly be used for that landscaping project that I was telling you about earlier. So this one here is called Peaches and Cream. I love the soft colours in that. What I'll do is I'll see if I can try and find like a mature picture of the tree when it actually is in full flower, just to give you an idea on what it is actually like. But you can see it's got the little flower buds already, which is exciting. I can't wait to see that. So that is a grevillea Peaches and Cream. My husband likes grevillea, so I got a few of those. And then there is this grevillea called Coconut Ice, which is beautiful. This is actually quite a tall one to start with, which is kind of nice. You can see the size difference. So they both get nice. They're both beautiful feature trees. Those ones were beautiful feature ones. Then there was more of these which will grow to like the leucadendrons. So leucadendrons are actually South Africans. But we actually claim them as sort of ones that we can grow here all the time. So this is a 1.5 to 1.5. And a lot of the protea species, a lot of the protea species are actually claimed sort of by Australia because they grow so well in our climate. So we mix in a lot of like our native banksias and grevilleas with the protea family, which is the leucadendrons as well. So this one here, I thought it just had such a beautiful colour. And then I got this leucadendron as well because it was just a little bit darker. I have tried to grow this one previously. This is a Safari Sunset. So I actually tried to grow this, honestly, probably about 10 years ago in my old garden. And yeah, it didn't go so well. So I got some tips on how to actually grow some of these, which is fantastic. Now these two here actually come back to my floristry days of working in my mum's florist as I was a kid. We used to always order in these proteas and they are absolutely stunning. So they're king proteas, so they're a lot bigger than a lot of other proteas. Like the heads on them are a good 20 centimeters, they're huge. So this is the king white, which is really, really pretty. It actually see all that in there, it actually has more of a green tinge to it, so it's green with white and then white on the very ends of the petals. And this one here is a matching one, it's called the King Pink, and I distinctly remember these from my floristry days. So they have always been something that I've always wanted to sort of get my hands on for my own property. Oh wow, I actually think that might be the start of a flower. it's got a furriness to it, which is what the flowers have. So that's exciting. Ooh. So that's very exciting. I'm so happy. These are definitely two that have been on my wish list. This shows you how much of a plant nerd I am since I was a teenager. So very excited about these ones. And as I mentioned earlier, we were after a waratah, which is this one, and it's called Shady Lady. And this is the exact one that I was after, which is fantastic. I had seen them there previously. And I am very excited to get these in the wild. They are absolutely stunning. So they grow to 3 meters high by 2 meters wide. So they're definitely a good size plant, and they're more like a really big shrub essentially. They don't have one leader, they'll bulk out from the side. So I'm excited to get that one into the garden. Another one from my floristry days is pink ice. Now this one here, compared to the other ones, has a little bit more of a very soft texture. So when you actually touch it, it feels like cotton. They're just beautiful. And again, it's a good shrub sort of tree, not with a single leader. And they're 2.5 by 2 meters wide. So loving that one. I think it's just beautiful. You can see the softness already on the foliage. And then this was purely an impulse buy. I have seen these before. It's called a confetti bush, and I love the foliage. Absolutely love the foliage. The variegation on it, the pink, the white, and the green. That's just right up my alley. So very excited to get that. Now this is a large plant. It will grow to 6 meters. So a lot of the plants that I grabbed today are big ones. As I said, they're for that landscaping project I was telling you about, with that large gravel pathway coming down to the garden. So we needed some feature trees, and I got quite a few today. I actually spent a little bit of time chatting to one of the guys that works there in the native section, and I advised him what we were actually looking, because he saw my trolley full of natives, and he was like, okay, now where are you looking to plant those? So I described it to him, and he was saying because we have where we're looking at doing it, there's actually quite a bit of clay in the soil, and like quite a lot of clay. They did some earthworks and they filled it in with clay instead of native soil. And with that clay, you can't plant natives into that sort of soil, which I did know that anyway. But what he was suggesting was, what I had been thinking, was to actually import some actual soil, so like some topsoil or something like that, some actual garden mix, and put it on top of the existing ground. So essentially what you want to do is be planting up into a mound so that those natives have plenty of free draining area, because natives do not like to have wet feet. They like to get watered often, but they do not like to have wet feet. So he suggested that we import some soil, which will be kind of a good idea. Mound it up, add in some sand, and he also suggested, which I didn't think of, is to underneath that actually put like a layer of gravel, essentially allowing everything to drain straight through. And he said the landscaping fabric would be a good idea to help suppress weeds, and to use eucalyptus mulch as a top dress. I explained to him that we had some wood chips that were actually gums, and he said they're perfectly fine as well. So that was what we were actually planning to mulch the whole garden bed with, was the huge big pile of gum wood chips that we've got out the front of our property. We know that they were gum, and we know that they're safe because we saw them cut them down next door and grind them up. So we managed to get those wood chips from them. So I know that they are 100% Australian wood chips, and there's nothing invasive that might pop up, or seed pods or anything like that. So I feel quite confident with that. So yeah, all we need to do is actually have some soil delivered, add some sand to it, and put a gravel base down, and then plant the natives kind of high, so that if they get rain, that's perfectly fine, but they won't be sitting in wet feet. So I'm absolutely loving all of the plants that we got today. There were so many that were on my wish list, some that my husband sort of liked, some that I love, some from years ago, and a few little impulse buys as well. So all in all, a really good day at the nursery. My daughter absolutely loved all of the birds there. She's named quite a few of them and made friends with them. But these plants here will not be planted until next year, so they're perfectly fine in their pots. And what I will do is add them over to here, to that pot shelf that I was showing you earlier. So that pot shelf is basically just nice and high and dry. We have had flooding underneath it, but if I keep them up off the ground, we won't actually have them flood out and wash out. Not that we're expecting to sort of get any rain. They're saying that La Nina's over, but last year we had 96 inches of rain, which is absolutely ridiculous, and that is why we lost nearly $1,000 worth of natives that we'd purchased previously. So hopefully these ones I don't lose, but I'm going to keep them nice and high, nice and dry, and then we can plant them out when it comes time. So thank you so much for coming along to Wyee Nursery today. I absolutely love the nursery. I think it is just absolutely stunning, and I really enjoy the days where I get to go to the nursery, especially that one. I really think it's just a beautiful place to be. We enjoyed our lunch and we had quite a nice mummy-daughter day. So thank you so much for joining us today. It's getting a little bit chilly now, so we're going to head inside and get nice and warm. Winter is definitely in the air. Thank you for joining us. Bye.